Is woke happening as a war right now? Is there a woke war is a question I think many people are asking, and we wanted to take a look at a video where Piers Morgan sits down with a couple of ladies and they say there isn't a woke war. It's a myth, and this is a common thing. We were actually going to do a video on like what does woke even mean, but then we saw this one and we thought this is a better discussion. And if you enjoy our content, we're going to start to change things a teeny bit. We'll do more of a traditional video like this, and then we'll do the trenches, more of a podcast breakdown of the subject, basically giving you what we believe. That'll be free. And then if you want to see our debrief behind the scenes, what we thought of the episode, that'll be over on our Patreon, and that will cost a fee. Andrew, before we look at this video, do you think there's a woke war, or is it a total myth? I'm going to make you commit to a position before you see the video.
Feels like a loaded question.
Good. Good.
A woke war. I mean, we have to define what woke is, and we have to define what that war looks like or would look like. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of... there is a war for the soul of society right now going on, and the word woke is intertwined with that. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, so let me set the clip up. So Stephen A. Smith was decrying or complaining about Rihanna in a halftime show and made a remark about how she's not Beyonce, and then had to issue an apology feeling like he was misunderstood. So that's the kickoff of this discussion, but we've not watched beyond that, so it could be more of a raw reaction to what they're arguing. If you guys think there's great clips out there for us to react to, send them our way. Let's take a look at what they say.
Welcome back with my pack tonight, here with Talk TV contributors Esther Cracker and Paula Rhone-Adrien. Well, welcome to you, ladies. Stephen A. Smith, he's a smart guy.
Yeah, really funny.
Interesting, funny.
Yeah.
But even he, who does a book called Straight Shooter, even he gets basically bullied into apologising for basically just saying he prefers Beyonce.
He didn't apologise, and he told you he didn't apologise.
It's apologise to Rihanna.
It's a 3-minute apology.
Because he was concerned that she may have misinterpreted what was said.
He didn't bow to the mob.
And he was right to be concerned.
Well, out of interest, who is better, Beyonce or Rihanna?
I think they're two different
genres. They're generations.
They're different generations. It's not about getting off the fence.
I think vocally Beyonce is obviously better, but I think stylistically Rihanna is more my generation.
You need to ask me who I would dance to.
Exactly.
Well, who would you dance to?
I'd dance to Rihanna.
Yeah.
Really?
Who would you dance to, Andrew?
Oh man, that's a toughie. I mean, for my money, it doesn't get a whole lot better than all the single ladies.
I think this is hilarious because nobody wants to admit that, like, he's saying something nonsensical. Nobody is Beyonce. Like, it doesn't matter who you're disappointed that gets the halftime show. He just stepped in it. Like, why pit them against each other? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, worthless. I'm interested how they get to the myth of a woke war from this discussion. So let's keep watching.
Does it work? Yeah, of course.
You dance to Rihanna.
I would twerk to both of them.
Really?
Can you twerk to Crazy in Love?
I'm not going to show you my twerking live on that.
Please no.
I couldn't tell you a song that either of those ladies have released in recent history.
I know. We should get you to do it.
Up on the table.
Exactly.
Really? I don't think the nation's quite ready for me twerking on the table.
We are not.
Talking of singing, Sam Smith, he, they, them, she, whatever he currently calls himself, she does, they
yes.
whatever they... You see, I can't call one person they. I have a problem with that. There's only one of them.
Because you can't get your head around it.
No, because he can't.
I didn't know Sam Smith came out as they. I didn't know that we're supposed to refer to Sam Smith now as a they. I didn't know that.
Okay.
Did you know that?
Not something that is on my radar.
That's a whole nother subject, like keeping up with this. Like I'm supposed to know now and remember. So I'm going to put somebody in my phone, I guess, and be like, always remember now that Sam Smith is a they. Like, I'm not trying to discount somebody's identity, like if that's really important to them, but it's just one more layer of what feels like absurdity. Like,
that was another episode that we already cut on pronouns.
Yeah, are pronouns important, right? And we kind of got at it from the angle of why is this so important to you, not necessarily saying, I'm not going to refuse to call somebody a they or a she or a he if they ask me to. Like, I know people get stuck on that, like, I'm not going to call you that. You're not a woman. Like, that doesn't matter to me.
To be honest, in that situation, I was just thinking about this right now. If I was in a situation with someone that was an acquaintance or I didn't know that well, I would probably just avoid the pronoun usage altogether and just call them by their name.
Yeah, that's a safer road.
Not get into it. If it was someone that I'm super close to and they came at me with this, we would have a discussion. You know what I mean? We talk about it.
Yeah. All right.
You need to take time.
They can't either because they keep changing
incorrect.
their minds what they are.
No, it's not their problem. It's your problem.
Well, they was a gay man, came out as gay. Then he said, actually, I'm now non-binary.
Yes.
Then something else. And now they have got the gall to come out and say that the Brit Awards fiasco, where all the nominees for Best Artist, of course, are men, because they made it gender neutral, so the men dominate again.
So you're accepting about the sex discrimination that still exists?
No. Oh, you see, how classic that a woman, because the 5 best artists...
You seem to be getting bored about it.
Because
I would love for somebody to explain to me how there is now sex discrimination when being a woman is something you can just choose to be. Like, what are women's rights? How are women represented in the C-suite? Like, I'd be curious for people that are all about, like, a trans woman is a woman. Well, what if a bunch of CEOs across America suddenly transition to women? Does that eliminate the lack of representation in the C-suite? Right? That's always the argument, right? There's not enough women in the C-suite. Well, if a bunch of men transition into women, does that solve the problem? Like, that's, I think, a great thought experiment for people that really push this. It's you're creating conflict now. It's like,
are you asking me?
Yeah, go for it. Does that get rid of discrimination if a bunch of men just transition?
No. I don't think it's even a question.
So all the efforts over all these years of like trying to get more women represented at higher levels of office in companies
is being undone by all this stuff.
Because you've moved that entire thing. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why J.K. Rowling got so upset and everybody calls her a transphobe. But it's like they've done all this work to say now women are more, more printed, more respected, better paid. So in Hollywood, that's a question, right? Men are paid more than women. Well, if a bunch of people come out as either non-binary or no longer men, does that solve that pay gap problem? Because now a bunch of people who were men are now women. Like,
no.
It's all folding in on itself is what it feels like. Like, as she says that, I'm like, well, what does that even mean now? Because
it is all going to fold in on itself. The world.
Right.
Eventually.
Right. Let's keep watching. That we haven't even gotten to the meat of the woke war yet.
I am. I'm bored about the sex discrimination as well.
Oh, so you make it gender neutral to avoid discrimination.
Not me.
When the 5 best artist nominations actually turn out to be men that year, that's discrimination against women.
But no one was surprised.
What about going back to having best women and best men, which was what old Sam Smith wanted to stop, right?
That's phenomenal that they no longer want to have best female artist, best male artist, and then they're upset that a bunch of dudes won. Like,
which award show are we talking about?
I don't even know. But let's do this in sports. Do it in tennis.
The Brit Awards.
Do it in tennis.
It says right there.
Yeah, the Brit Awards.
Women.
Go gender neutral in tennis. Do it. Let the men play the women.
There's no way around
Why not?
certain things in life. And humanity is trying to figure out a way to reverse engineer all the things that we want to be different about the nature of reality. And we can't.
Right. We
can't.
At every turn, the absurdity of it just gets exposed, because if you said, well, no, we no longer want to have these categories of best male artist, best female artist. Do this in sports then. There's no longer, a tennis championship for women and a tennis championship for men. Just remove that, because these labels are bad and toxic and gender's just a social construct and it's not real. So let the men play the women and see how well that turns out.
Here's a question. Which arena of culture has the woke movement affected more severely? Sports or comedy?
We have to keep watching the video. That's a whole nother episode. That's a whole other episode. I talked about that the other day.
Going?
I was doing a stream the other day, and I said every time you tell a joke, there's a chronological snobbery expiration date on it. In 3 to 5 years, that joke could be offensive because we're just going to move goalposts in a couple of years and say, oh, no,
totally.
that kind of humor is not allowed anymore. Like,
yeah.
It's like, as a comedian, every joke you tell has an expiration date on it.
And anything you say can be used against you later.
In a court of law. No,
you.
in a court of fools.
In a court of Twitter.
Yeah. Anything you say and do can be used against you in a court of fools at some determined point in the future.
They wanted it to stop. They wanted non-binary to get the same part of the pie as men and women. And guess what? Now he wants more women to be nominated. Really, Sam Smith? They? What? How do I even speak to they?
The reality is, and the reason why you're getting so tired, the reason why you're exhausted...
It's exhausting.
And it's true.
It's exhausting.
It's true, because
somebody's gay 1 minute, they're non-binary the next. They want women removed from award ceremonies. They want gender-neutral awards. And then when it turns out that no women get nominated, that becomes sexism. Then they wants to have more women in.
Piers.
I just wanted him to be able to finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, finish this thought. It's... You know, that rant that he just went on there is such a, when you boil it down, it's such a very valid explanation of the human condition without a real faith in God. To be honest, we're just going to be aimlessly searching, trying on identities to try to find happiness, to try to find peace, to try to find something purposeful with our lives. You know what I mean? And it's
right.
And it is so empty. It's such a fruitless pursuit. And I've been there so many times personally throughout my life where, you know, anytime I'm trying to satisfy myself and find happiness or contentment or peace or purpose apart from my faith, you know what I mean, or in contradiction to it, I always end up in a bad spot. You know what I mean?
Right.
So what he's saying is he's basically laying out what every person does and what this whole thing is about. It's just about human beings looking for meaning, looking for happiness, looking for peace. And the latest trend or whatever that's happening in culture, or one of them anyways, is the whole sexuality gender thing, So, you call yourself a different pronoun, or you change the way that you quote unquote identify, or the way you look. It's just a desperate search for peace for your soul,
Yeah.
No amount of hopping around and trying on different selves is going to cure that.
My wife made this observation once. She said that the minute someone does this, they come out as non-binary. They come out as gay, transgender, whatever. That moment is a moment of unparalleled attention and affirmation.
Yeah. It's so much attention.
You just get all this attention and affirmation poured on you. And a pattern I've noticed is exactly what he just outlined. It's this, well then it's this, well then it's this. So it's like, well, all along the way you're getting lauded and affirmed and told that you're brave and courageous, and it's you just keep grabbing some other identity marker that the public and those that are more progressive are cheering you on. But is it ultimately satisfying? Because I've been listening to these history of philosophy lectures, and the earliest philosophers were wrestling with the idea of, can we know anything? Is there some sort of ultimate reality beneath everything? And it always leads to the question of purpose. Like, what are we supposed to be
Why
doing?
are we here?
And it's
why are we here?
Yeah, it's unavoidable. So it's so baked in to us as humans that you see it on full display. And the social media has, I think, really conditioned people to be addicted to that dopamine hit of affirmation and acceptance. So much of that, I think, drives a lot of this. I'm not like taking away from what someone genuinely feels. But what if beneath that is something far deeper that you don't sense, that desire for affirmation, love, and acceptance, and it's grown out of that, and the symptom is this bent and this twisted sort of, I need to claim that I'm this or that. I'm not saying they don't feel it, but what if there's something deeper beneath that feeling that's just...
I don't think it's a what if at all.
It's unseen, and if you don't go all the way down to that root, then you'll never quite understand all these symptoms coming from it.
Sure.
All right, let's keep going.
The whole thing is
and this is the problem.
ridiculous.
There is no such thing as a woke war. This is you yourself excited and exhausted about a myth.
No, there is.
And we need to dispel that.
No.
Okay? This is about Sam Smith. This is about them discovering, going on a journey about who they are.
It is ridiculous.
And you need to keep up with that, and you're struggling.
No, I don't need to.
And so because you're struggling, you want us to stop. But we don't need to stop.
Paula, I can't actually keep up with Sam Smith.
Well, yeah.
They change their identity so often from
I think part of the pushback here would be, well, he's on a journey. They are on a journey, and that's fine. But there is no woke war. No, this is happening out in the public right now. He didn't do this privately. He didn't go on a spiritual journey and have a private revelation every couple of weeks of who he is and what he feels. These are public declarations that change the fabric of the public conversation, and not only that, change how award ceremonies are running, and they want people to agree and think along with them. This idea there's no woke war, it's like, well, then why is every single time these topics comes up, everything so imperative laden? You ought to, you must, you should not. If there's no war, if there's no woke war, if there's no culture war, then why is everything baked with imperatives?
Well, she seems to be very cognizant of being non-militaristic. You know what I mean? Like, she wants to be... so much of this war or debate or whatever you want to call it has to do with who's right morally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which has to do also with feeling good. You know what I mean? Like, that's what virtue signaling is all about. It's doing something publicly on social media that garners attention, that makes you look morally superior, right?
Right.
And so she is attempting to take a morally superior stance with this there is no woke war, because she's basically saying all of the people that would be considered woke are not trying to fight anyone because we're all super kind and generous and
sure. Oh yeah, I've seen that a lot in the gaming community.
So it's just
lately.
she's just virtue signaling there.
Right. I've seen this met out in the gaming community lately. People that are supporting a game called Hogwarts Legacy. Well, because it's tied to Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling, there are people literally brigading for people to be fired. A woman lost her job because she expressed that she was excited about this Harry Potter game. I've been told that if I play or stream the game, I'm a transphobe and that I hate transgendered persons. And it's like...
See, that's just insane.
It's like,
that's like saying if you cheer for Tiger Woods playing golf, you are a serial adulterer.
Or you think adultery's cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, don't tell me there's no woke war when the mob comes for people for wanting to play a video game because pennies of their dollar will go to J.K. Rowling at some point and they don't agree with what she said. Like, the hubris and the arrogance to be like, no, this entire gender debate's been solved. She's on the wrong side of it. And if you buy this game that's built in her world and universe, then you are a hateful, terrible person and will come for your job. Like, it's...
But apply that rhetoric to all of life and you'll see the massive hypocrisy in it. And
yeah.
Before I throw that word out there, hypocrisy, one of the core tenets of the human condition is hypocrisy. Saying one thing and doing another.
Right.
We're all guilty of it. So I'm not standing up here going, I'm not a hypocrite. These people are. You know what I mean?
Right.
Hypocrisy is inherent to being human.
Yeah.
hypocrisy is also inherent to human systems.
Sure.
You know, whether we're talking about corporations or churches or something in between.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, we're trying to keep these videos around 20. I want to let's keep watching because we can save some of this for the next segment.
For sure. To they, to whatever. I can't keep up with it.
And why does that?
Why should I have to?
And why does that?
Why should I have to?
How many women do you think were asked for their permission to whether they think the women's category should be removed?
Exactly.
How many women do you think were
Why do you ask Adele? You said the whole thing was ridiculous.
How many women? Because that decision was made effectively by people backing this man. It is literally the patriarchy. Yeah. The fact that one confused man, which is what Sam Smith is, said, "Oh, but we don't want to identify as male or female," and so they removed the female.
I'm not
category.
sure.
Now,
I love that. I love that question.
I think that's actually a fair point.
Did they ask the? Yeah, I love that question. Did they ask the women if this was okay? Like, do you see it? Like the idea that there's no woke war, and yet the imposition of a worldview affects other people. Like it's unavoidable. Like that worldview imposition, his worldview being imposed, their worldview being imposed on this award ceremony affected women who were like, wait a minute, there should be a female.
It's the imposition that's the problem. Imposed.
Right.
The imposition. It's not that somebody would have a viewpoint. You know what I mean? It's when that viewpoint is being forced on everyone.
Right, which we've argued for centuries that you're not allowed to do that, and here we stand, and that's exactly what's happening. Like, all right, let's keep watching.
And now Sam Smith says we've got to get more women back on the list.
He's obviously confused.
I'm not sure he would agree with you as defining him as confused.
He wouldn't, obviously.
What do you mean he?
Yeah,
them,
what do you mean
they, she.
Oh, they caught her.
You just misgendered Sam Smith.
I did, and I apologise.
Can you please apologise?
It's just absurd. Like, it's so hard to have a conversation. You can't even have a conversation. She slipped up, and now she has to. She's immediately apologizing because she slipped. Slip of the tongue.
I apologise.
Look into the camera.
Apologise to they, please.
I'm looking at this discussion and all the topics that we're covering, and I have these moments where I just go, how do we live in this world now? Keep going.
Yes, keep going.
How easy it is?
It is easy, but what we need to do is have this conversation.
Actually,
and by calling somebody confused, it's not helpful.
If I said my pronoun was hottest man alive, if that was my genuine pronoun, would you feel obliged to call me that every day? Hey, hottest man alive? No, you wouldn't, would you? No. So, in other words, it all depends.
No, see, his question's absurd and hyperbolic, but it gets at it because that pronoun's descriptive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not neutral. It's not. So that's the problem, right? They, he, she. These are descriptive words, and so there's nothing neutral about it. So yeah, if he wanted to be called hottest man alive every day, you're describing him. And if you're like, well, I don't agree with that, well, you have to call me that though. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if we're applying this principle across the board, you know what I mean?
I want to see
the fabric of society will be totally destroyed.
I want to see what she says.
Depends who decides what they want to be called.
And isn't that what we're discussing? The fact that I don't have to do that,
so
that's okay.
Why do we have to call Sam Smith they?
Because we're respecting
so why don't you respect
choice.
Me? That's my choice.
When do I have
it's my choice.
When do I have to call you?
I want to be called hottest man alive.
Hottest man alive.
Yes,
all the time.
That is my choice, and I demand you respect it.
She's struggling with the thought experiment because it's actually a good point. Like, he's being cheeky, but it's an excellent way to get beneath the absurdity. Like, just you have to call me this. That idea is absurd. It's absurd.
Struggling because we're now. I think.
Sorry, my preferred pronouns are hottest man
really
alive.
demeaning the topic, aren't we?
Sorry,
what are you now going to say that
you just
today you're world's hottest man. Tomorrow you want to define yourself as a chair or as a dolphin?
What?
She just got at the issue, right? Like, you can just keep changing
and
it.
she's not being sincere right now, but she should be.
Because a gender fluid person 100% can wake up one day and say, today I'm a she, the next day they're a they, maybe they're non-binary one day of the week. That there are people that are gender fluid, and they're never static in one gender. They're dynamic. They're all over the place. So that's the point. Is yes, at one level somebody might say he's demeaning it because these people would say it's so linked to their identity and so important to them. He's being cheeky though to show pushed to its logical end, we are in an absurd land where you're demanding I call you something because it's so important to you.
I once identified as a two-spirit penguin because I was told there were 100 genders, including astrogender, which is an affinity with the stars. And I was told, Piers, stop being ridiculous. I was like, if there are 100 genders, I can be a two-spirit penguin.
I think the
I can now
serious
demand you call me, as my pronouns, hottest man alive. But you don't want to because you think that's ridiculous.
The serious part of this
But you'll
conversation...
call a single person they and them.
The serious part of this conversation is about people who do not fit into your box, and you struggle with that.
Here's where I struggle.
You struggle with that.
Yeah, but Paula, let me answer. Here's my problem with Sam Smith. They said, when they weren't actually when they were a gay man, they said, we need to even up these award ceremonies by making them all gender neutral. I demand it. It's now happened, and they, as the former gay man now wants us to call him, now says it's terribly unfair and we've got to have more women. They are responsible for where we've got to.
Because changing a name doesn't change the
We
discrimination.
never got around to Tory sleeves.
Well, if changing the name doesn't...
Changing the name doesn't change the discrimination? That doesn't tie in.
But if a trans woman is a woman, any of these men that won the awards could transition to a woman, and does that remove the discrimination? As I said at the earlier part of this video. Listen, we're going to wrap. That's the end of the video. If you want to hear more of our thoughts, there's another segment called The Trenches. We're going to dive deep. It's now free. And then the debrief is sort of us assessing how it went. That's paid. That's on our Patreon, ceasefirepodcast.com. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. Follow us wherever you're watching. And we look forward to seeing you in the next video.